I actually think most of what's taken for granted is actually taught illiteracy. My best example of that is when the consumer spending data comes out every month. You know, there's always a big cheer if there's a lot of spending, and there's an extra loud cheer if that spending is based upon a huge increase in debt. And so a huge pile of debt gets twisted into a positive thing. You know, like home ownership is certainly preached, but most people never own their home. They're renting for another 30-year lease, because even now we have huge refinancing that's going on. We're actually back to almost 2003 levels for some of the cohorts that were recently written. And these people may have been, I mean, most of these people are probably only a few years in, but they're people that are 10 years into their mortgage. I think I heard that some almost impossible sounding fraction of retirees actually have mortgages. It's incredible. How is that possible? So there's a lot of financial illiteracy, a lot.
Pushed.
And there's a new class in financial literacy that was just rolled out, I think, this year. It's ever smaller participation vehicles into the stock market. There's this thing called slices now. And then I think there's an advertisement on some of the financial media where they say you can be diversified with 10 slices for only $50. And I think first we had the futures contracts, then there were the mini futures contracts, and then there's the mini contracts to allow a broader base of participation from less and less sophisticated people. But they're going to learn. They're learning how, they're going to learn through the school of hard knocks. What's going on, at the top of the stock market here in the United States in February, around February 19th or so, there was a record of call buying by the little investor for these little mini calls that you can buy now. There were seven odd million contracts on these, and that was shattered any record. But presently, at least a couple of weeks ago, that record was totally taken out, and there were more than 12 million. It was not a little bit taken out, that record, it was shattered. They think they're learning that you buy the Nifty 50 and Xerox takes you to 153, but when it goes back down below 40, that's when they're really going to learn. These people don't even understand that when that you can lose more than all your money on some of these options trades, but that can happen. The problem is that people don't understand the concept of saving money. We were at one point when I was a kid where we were really scratching to get by, and we were at the supermarket and we didn't have enough money, and we had to put stuff back. And I said to my mother, because there were no credit cards before 1970. So here we are, credit cards had just kind of come around. And I said, why don't you just put it on the credit card? And she just looked at me and she says, let me tell you something. Never, ever, ever put food on a credit card, ever. Never borrow money to buy food, because that's a slippery slope which ends potentially very badly. I never forgot that. But also when I was a kid, there were no auto loans. Everyone knows that borrowing money to buy food and leveraging up on your car, and on that note, it's funny. I was listening to the radio a while ago, and they were talking about how there was such a steep decline in the prices of used luxury cars. And I mean luxury cars, Lambos, Ferraris. And they were down like 50% in a year. And they said, the prices have gone from I'm just making up numbers, but $300,000 to $150,000. And I was like, how could that be? I mean, the economy's okay. And the reason was that they had toughened up on the lending standards for used car loans. I was like, people are borrowing 300 grand to buy a Lambo? So it's one of these things where everyone knows that this is a bad way to go, but it's one of those things where in the short term, there's payoff, and it's just like our national debt, it's just like so many things that, you've been saying that this is a problem for years, and look, everything's fine. Yes, it's a problem in the long term, everybody says, but that could be a long, long way away. But what happens is you glue enough short terms together, and all of a sudden the long term is today.